Hey, Utah Mammoth fans, Tusks up, and welcome back into another Utah Mammoth Daily. 2 games into the season, and the Mammoth have already given us the full range of emotions. Game 1 in Denver had nerves, jitters, a one-goal loss where they looked like they were still kind of figuring out who they were, how to play, what their identity truly was, and they were a little bit starstruck. Let's not kid ourselves here, going up against Gabriel Landeskog, who used to be my favorite player. And then you also had Nathan McKinnon and Kale Makar. I mean, the stars were out, and Utah kind of played like it. In Game 2 in Nashville, it was a grinded-out overtime win where they found a way, even without their best stuff, and even when they really only played 2 out of 3 periods. Because that second period was just, it felt like Utah was just always a man down. There was always a penalty, always something going on. So the veterans of Nashville kind of taught the youngins over with us here at Utah how the game is played and how to kind of mold the referees in your favor a little bit. So those 2 games showed us something important. Besides that, this team doesn't crumble. They're learning how to compete when it's ugly. That's how playoff teams start their evolution. Last year, the Mammoth dropped these coin flip games. This year, they've already flipped one in their favor, and that's progress, and they could have flipped the other against a Stanley Cup contender. So that overall, we're looking pretty darn good after the first 2 games. So I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing, even if in that second period it was a little nervy, but the penalty kill is really doing well, and I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing. I hope you all are too. All right, so stars showing their stripes. Through the first 2 games, the picture is crystal clear. The team's ceiling crumbles or gets raised with Keller, Cooley, and Gunther. Keller may not have a goal yet. I know, crazy stat. But he's driving play like a true captain, drawing coverage, creating lanes, and letting his line mates eat. Cooley's confidence jump is obvious. That goal off the Gunther feed in Nashville was the perfect mix of poise and skill and reading the play. As the play was developing, Cooley knew he was fast enough to catch up to Gunther, and they just worked perfectly together. And then Dylan Gunther, I've been gushing about him since preseason. He's evolving from prospect into a problem. The overtime winner wasn't luck. Well, it kind of was off of that bounce off the boards, but once he got it, he got it. It was instinct and execution from that point. Together, these 3 are forming something Utah's never really had before, going back to the days of Arizona. A legitimate, homegrown, top line that can go toe-to-toe with almost anyone in the West. It's only 2 games, but you can see it building. I'm not going to put them up there with the Colorados and the Dallases and maybe even the Minnesotas of the Central Division, but everybody else, I would put Utah's top line up there against any of them. But now let's kind of talk about the depth and the veterans that showed up and showed out against Nashville. The unsung story so far has been the middle and bottom 6. Jack McBain continues to justify that new contract, doing the dirty work and chipping in clutch goal. That clutch goal against Nashville was awesome. It was just hard work. Nick Schmaltz looks rejuvenated after last season, more speed, better decisions. And guys like Brandon Tanev and Lawson Krause and Kevin Stenlund have given this team the sandpaper that it lacked last year. The biggest hurdle right now is discipline. Penalties nearly cost them against Nashville, and Turigny knows it. Utah's at its best 5-on-5 or on the power play. They just have to stop beating themselves and getting lured into bad penalties by the savvy veterans. Still, you can see the system gelling. They're forechecking smarter, the neutral zone pressure is much higher, and the blue line looks more organized behind Sergachev and Marino. If this continues, Utah's middle will become one of its biggest strengths. And you saw that Andre Turigny had faith in that line late in the third period. He had Tanev, Krause, and Stenlund out there when Nashville was pressuring. And those guys were playing very important minutes. Andre Turigny was rewarding them for their earlier play, for their penalty kill, and it showed up, and they played really well. I know it's against Nashville, not necessarily a Stanley Cup favorite, but it's still something that last year, maybe Utah would have crumbled under the pressure that Nashville was putting on them in the second period and the third period. And let's not forget about the video replay guys. Fantastic stuff, catching that offside on Roman Josi. That saved the game, really. Now, the dilemma, and really a gut punch, seeing Sean Durzi leaving the game, clutching his surgically repaired right arm. And he was in pain. And you know he was in pain because that's a hockey player. That broke my heart when I saw that. It really did. I hope and hope and hope that it's nothing serious, but I mean, oh, if Dursey does need to miss extended time, the front office faces its first real roster test of 2025-2026. They've been able to skate by in these first two games with the injuries to Hayton and Kerfoot. But now what do they do with this hurt defenseman? Do they stick with that 7-man rotation, or do they rebalance it with another forward coming in? If they keep the blue line rotation, personally, I expect either Scott Perunovich or Maverick Lamoureux to come in. They're both really solid defensemen. Maverick Lamoureux is more green than Perunovich. Perunovich moves the puck better, and he fits the system's transition game and can man a second unit power play if required. I don't think they'll need him to do that, though, with all the other guys they have. But if they don't opt to go with that extra defenseman and they do decide to go with the forward for a more traditional rotation, my money is on Daniil Boot getting the call-up. I mean, he had a strong preseason. He was one of the final cuts of the roster. He could bring extra size and net front pressure to the bottom six lines, but that's the catch. That's the rub. Bottom six. Does Bill Armstrong sacrifice ice time for Boot to learn the North American game to cover for an injury, or does he promote somebody like a Scott Perunovich or a Kevin Rooney, who was just recently signed to be a depth two-way forward not two-way forward, a two-way deal. It gives Utah a defensively reliable veteran who can win faceoffs and kill penalties. I think that's where he's going to go. It's Kevin Rooney. The good news, though, is the Mammoth finally have the depth to handle this kind of challenge without panicking. The bad news, they're going to need to test it sooner than anyone hoped. How they respond, both on the ice and off, will tell us a lot about how serious this team is about a playoff run. Luckily for Utah this year, they're much better positioned to absorb a hit like this than they were last year. So that's the early picture. 2 games, 1 win, 1 lesson, 2 lessons really, and a roster already showing it's built to handle adversity. There's options. There's not just, there's one guy. If we get one more injury, then we don't have anything else. So that's where we're at. This has been Utah Mammoth Daily. Tusks up, and I'll be back tomorrow, and I hope to see you there.